Sergey here. Hi. Quick update. Today is Wednesday. Wednesday, January 18th. So I came back yesterday from the delivery when they took the trailer off my that small trailer off my big trailer, and I managed to get to Cambridge without killing any freight brokers and Mack engineers, and had time to service my car. Mazda has been bugging me, like, it's time for your second oil change, and I got the car in January last year, and Mazda insists that you do oil changes every 6 months, but they always booked. I call them, oh geez, you have to give us like 1 week notice. Who has time like that? So I just go to a place here in my area. They're very nice, one of those quick lube places. But the funny thing is that they're more expensive. Mazda is cheaper, and they give you better oil, like full 100% synthetic, whereas these guys just give you, I think it's like a mix. But anyway, I did that, and then since you saw my previous video, I had trouble finding shocks for the Mack, so I called the dealer and I said, can I bring the truck first thing in the morning? And they said, okay. I said, I'll be there at 6:30. And of course I got up at 6, and it's still dark, and I brought the truck with the trailer there at 7, found parking spot, disconnected the gooseneck, and just once again, it's so easier for me now. That's what I do. I don't disconnect all the hoses, and I don't drop the trailer. I just disconnect the gooseneck from the trailer and give them the truck like that, and I just say, when you drive it in the shop, just be careful. There's this thing in the back over there, right? And it took them like 2 hours. They charged me like very reasonable fee, just what I expected. And I also got a couple of those Canadian anti-gel little bottles there. Put them in the truck, and while they were working on the shocks, I did my IFTA, my mileage report. Takes so much time, to track all your miles and all the, because I know you can do it with truck specific GPS, but I don't like those, so I just do it by hand using Google Maps. And then I went back to the laundry place where I dropped off my laundry the night before, and I'm confused now. She gave me back one pair of jeans, and I'm like, that's not right. I think I gave her much more than that. Like, there's a bunch of t-shirts and stuff like that, but only one pair of jeans. And I went back to that lady. I said, are you sure? Oh yeah, check at home. Check, you probably just forgot to bring me. Oh, I think I need to buy more jeans. And in case somebody's wondering, my favorite brand, because it was the first jeans I ever owned back in Russia, they were Wrangler, and that's what I always buy, a Wrangler. Okay, then I talked to Kenworth about the trade-in, since my truck is not selling because it's dead of winter, but surprisingly +5 Celsius over here, or 40 F. Scientists are scratching their collective heads. Probably the end of the world is coming. I don't know, but +5 in the middle of January. And so the guy said, Kenworth guy said, yeah, he doesn't, the salesman, he says he doesn't do the appraisal himself. I have to bring the truck and show it to the used truck manager. And he said he'll be there until 2 o'clock today. And because I got up so early, and honestly, I don't think they will give me money that it's gonna work for me. Like, they will just give me enough money to pay off the loan, but that will not leave me any money to put down on a new truck and for some other things I was thinking about. And then I talked to the Western Star guy, and that guy does the appraisals himself, the same sales guy, but he says there's like a committee. He says there's like 4 of us, and we have to each come up with a number, and then we also talk to the wholesale guy. And that thing I never understand about trade-ins, like, I buy the car or the truck, they want a retail price, right? But when they look at your trade-in, it's always wholesale, right? If you want to give me wholesale, I will give you wholesale for your truck, right? It's not, no way the truck wholesale price, like, the new truck is 225 Canadian thousand, right? But no, they sell it retail. They want to buy my at wholesale. Of course, they're making money. They're making a killing on both ends. But so basically, yeah, they said the Western Star guy said they had one offer from one wholesaler, but he said it was so low, I didn't want to give it to you to get you upset. And I said I appreciate that. And then I had to take some pictures for the pilot, Flying J, you know, that thing I do, some promotional photos. So I went there, and the Peterbilt guy, the Peterbilt dealer, is right next to the Flying J in air. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second, I'm right next to this guy. Let me just email him and ask. Because you would not believe this, right? Everybody else sent me quotes, specs, we've been meeting and talking. This guy still has not given me the price. He's not sent me even a preliminary specs. But now I said, can you see me? I'm in the area. Sorry, going into the meeting. So he's in the meeting. He's going into a meeting, or he's coming out of the meeting, or he's not there. I said, well, how about a quote? Oh, it'll be ready tomorrow. So guys, stand by. Tomorrow is going to be a very important video. We'll finally release the quote, and we'll talk about the spec sheet for the Peterbilt 367 4-axle heavy truck. I'm very curious to see what the price will be and what the dry weight will be, because all these trucks are pretty heavy, especially Kenworth for some reason. It's like the champion, the heaviest one. Then the second place is New Western Star, and the best and the most lightweight is the Western Star Glider with a 14-liter Detroit. So I think Peterbilts are also pretty light. It should be lighter than Kenworth. That's what I'm thinking. And also I've been talking to the Volvo again, because I remember when I was trying to sell my International, these guys were very good with trade-in because they were very aggressive. And when Western Star offered me $6,000 for the 10-year-old International, which was like a slap in the face, Volvo said, we'll give you 10. And if you saw my video, I sold that truck retail for $18,500 US, which at that time was about 22, 23 Canadian. So these guys offered me 6, which is like, it's not even funny, like no respect, you know. This was like 3 years ago when I was buying the Mack. But Volvo, like I said, offered much more money. So now I called this guy again, the guy who gave me a quote for the Volvo VNX, even though it has a small sleeper and has no outside air cleaners, which I really would like to have. But I said, hey, if you give me a good trade-in value, you know, I'll go with your stupid Volvo, I don't care. And the guy says, who are you calling stupid? No, I'm kidding. We were not using this term. There's nothing stupid about Volvo, just that it doesn't have all the characteristics I'm looking for in my next truck. But anyway, the guy was very serious. He said, yeah, bring your truck. We have to... I sent him the video that you guys saw, like truck for sale. He said, well, that video is helpful, but we still need to look at your truck. And we want to, you know, check everything. So you're going to bring it here, and we're going to put it in the shop. Okay. And then I went to catch a movie. I watched this Patriot Day, a very intense, you know, film about the terrorist act in Boston, Massachusetts in 2013. Nicely done, very good movie, very good actors. Anyway, I turned off my phone. I came back out. I switched the phone back on, and I see an email from the Volvo dealer, and he says. Because yeah, before I went to the movie, I sent him a quick email asking if it's true that Volvo VNX is discontinued and the big engine. And I come out and I see the answer on my phone says, yeah, Volvo D16 has been discontinued. He says we still have Volvo 13-liter and we have Cummins 15-liter, but only 500 horsepower. And I sent him an email. I said, well, then if it's only 500 horsepower, from Cummins, where everybody else is offering is 600 horsepower. I said, then my next truck is not going to be a Volvo. And Mack is discontinuing their Titan, right? With the same Volvo D16, only called MP10. So no Mack, no Volvo. And I talked to the when they were doing my shocks. You know, it's the Mack dealer, right? So the salespeople are right there. So I went to the reception. I said, "Are there any salespeople in here today? Anybody in the office?" And she calls one guy. He comes out and he recognizes me. Turns out it's the guy who used to work for the Volvo dealer in Air. And I did a test drive. There was, I think it was a red Volvo. He gave me like a used Volvo. There's a video on my channel. Test drive Volvo. I think it was 670 or something. Back in 2014, 2013. And this guy remembers me. He says, "Hey, you did a video about this." He says, "You put a camera in the back there." He says, "I'm famous." I said, "Hey, how are you?" And so we start talking, and I said, "Honestly, what's the price of my truck now? If somebody wants to buy this truck, like my truck, brand new right now, like through you, let's say we place the order to the factory, the same, you know, heavy axles, pusher, small sleeper." He says, he thought for a second. He said, "It's going to be over 200,000 Canadian." Okay, so that's my chance. That's my opening. That's why I'm trying to sell the trucks, because now they're so much more expensive. I can get some money out, kind of like selling a house when the prices jumped up, you know. And so he confirmed he said that nothing wrong with the price I'm asking. You know, that's a good price for a 2-year-old truck. And then I was talking to another guy, just trying to find how fast the prices are dropping after you buy the truck. And finally one guy, the Kenworth guy, said, "Oh, it's all individual, based on the truck make and based on the market situation." But then one guy gave me actually some numbers. He says, the rule of thumb is first year you lose 30% of the price. Next year and each year after that you lose 20. And so I calculated, if my truck is worth, let's say, $200,000, like brand new, minus 30% year one, minus 20% year two, and that's where I am right now. So my prices are right on the money, what I'm asking. You know, the price is in that truck for sale vid. And that's it. So that's what I'm doing. So I thought I'd be going tomorrow to show my truck to the Volvo guy, but since that didn't pan out, I said no. And if it's a 15-liter engine, it must have 600 horsepower, 2050 torque, otherwise what's the point? My 13-liter has 505 horsepower and 1850 torque, but it's not enough. You need a big displacement so that the truck can pull on a 10-mile long hill on US 15 in Pennsylvania. And I'm not kidding, there's hills like that. And US 15, and then another one is what? US 19 in West Virginia. You know, if you have a pretty heavy load, you need a big displacement. And what else I was doing today, I found a load on one of the public, free load boards. So a machine, 98,000 pounds, from Canada to US. You know, like, oh geez, you know, maybe I can do it and use my shiny brand new flip axle that's been sitting in dirt since November 1st. And I called my boss. I said, "Can I do it?" You know, like, because he has more experience with these heavy loads, right? I never did anything that required 8 axles. I said, "Will 8 axles be enough for 98,000 pounds?" And I could hear his calculator clicking there, and I said, "Yeah, you should be okay in Ontario, Canada. Probably okay in New York." He says, "The only problem is that the shipper sometimes makes a mistake about the weight." So he says, if it's under 100,000, you're okay. But if you go there and all of a sudden this machine weighs 102 or 105,000 pounds, we may be in trouble. And so that was in the morning. I sent them this load description and contact information, and have not heard anything after that. So not working tomorrow, I guess. Because usually, if I'm working tomorrow, they give me everything today. And today's Wednesday. Normally it's a good day, but at least what I see is that there's work. I see loads, which is surprising, because at this time last year there was nothing. You know, I was just sitting on my butt. So at least you see I'm moving, right? Like, not very well, like lots of deadhead like last time, but at least I'm making some money, right? And I see some loads. So I, you know, this winter, touch wood, looks good. So that was a quick update from Cambridge, Ontario. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned tomorrow for a big reveal about Peterbilt 367 tomorrow. SERGEI out. Be safe.